Thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. I want to bring in our next guest, UConn President Thomas Katsouleas. President Katsouleas, thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Nice to be with you, Jen.
So this is such an unprecedented situation. When you were first having to make decisions about closing down the campus, tell me where your mindset was. I mean, did you think we'd end up here where everyone's online right now and you're thinking about, making sure that there's online classes as well in the fall? I mean, this is a really interesting scenario.
It's been a bit surreal. I'm sure everybody has that feeling of waking up each morning and wondering early on in March, you're waking up each morning thinking, was that a dream? Nope, we're continuing. Yeah, I think it was late February that, obviously that we saw the virus spreading, and we thought it would be prudent to go ahead and stand up our emergency response team. And they began working on various scenarios, almost as a tabletop exercise at that point, not really expecting to pull the trigger on any of them. And, by, early March, we were telling faculty just to be ready for going online should we need to send students home. And we told them to be ready to be online by the end of spring break, thinking that it was just being prudent and well prepared. And I think things progressed so quickly. It was 2 or 3 days later that we said, oh, remember we said to be prepared to do this hypothetically? We're actually going to do this. And we let them know that we would be going fully online a week and a half later at the end of spring break. And the faculty and the students responded marvelously, I have to say. But to your point, when we sent the students home, we thought they would be gone for a couple of weeks, that we would all shelter in place, the virus would pass, and how naive that was. And so we actually told them to take their laptops and their books and things they would need for a few weeks, but we didn't have them clear out the dormitories. So we still have, the stuff of 11,000 students sitting in the dormitories right now.
How do you tackle that? Are they going to have to come and pick up their stuff from campus at some point?
Yeah, it's going to, we've been waiting for the end of finals. We're in finals week right now, and we have a little less than 1,000 students who are still on campus. Those are the students who couldn't go home. Either they didn't have a safe place to go, or they were international students and couldn't get back to their home country. So students are still there and taking their finals. And once they move out at the end of this week, then we can begin to bring our other students back in phases over a period of about 2 weeks to get their things and move them out. But we want to avoid a large crowd forming. So we're not going to have the traditional move-in day and move-out day. This is going to be a move-out weeks over a couple of weeks.
That's sad because for the fall, we always cover when UConn and students at other colleges come in and do move-in day. That's something that the local stations always, it's fun to see the freshman class moving in. We cover it.
I know. I remember.
Are we going to see? Go ahead.
Oh, I remember you covering it last year when I was a brand new president, and the senior leadership team was helping students move in, and just sending that signal that this is a big day in the lives of our students, but of the lives of our university. But listen, be prepared to cover it again in the fall. I mean, we're working very hard to try to get back to that point. It won't look the same. So in some ways, it'll be a more interesting news story. I don't know what it'll look like. It may be move-in weeks instead of move-in day, but we are working towards that move-in whenever it comes.
Well, we will be there for that. Let's talk about this graduation ceremony that you're planning online, because I know you had just said that you're avoiding large crowds, and of course, graduation ceremony would be a large crowd. So you all have decided to let the 2020 class go with an online celebration, and you got a number of people who are going to call in during that. Talk to me about that plan.
Yeah, it's going to take place this Saturday, May 9th at noon, and everyone's welcome to tune in on the UConn YouTube channel. And we are going to have some surprise visitors. Well, not quite. Not everyone's a surprise, but I think it's been leaked that we'll have a message to our graduating class from Coach Gino Ariema. So you might want to tune in and hear what he has to say. And then a bunch of it will be live. I'll be there live with the chair of the Board of Trustees conferring degrees. And so we'll see. There's a live theater aspect of it. It's the first virtual commencement, obviously, in the history of University of Connecticut. And we're going to do our best to celebrate. And this is still a very important milestone in the lives of these students. And their accomplishments deserve to be celebrated, and we're going to celebrate it as well as we can.
It's a good idea. It's a really good idea. All right, let's talk about the Connecticut Reopen Committee. They were saying that research programs, they were okay with them starting to open on May 20th. Obviously, UConn has a lot of research programs. Do you plan on picking that up as long as, the requirements are met?
Yeah, we've had a plan in place through our Vice President for Research, Radenka Merrick, to phase in research beginning May 20th. And that's very consistent with the guidelines from the governor's reopening committee. In fact, our research is already taking place, and some of our research never did shut down. So we ramped down all non-essential research, but we had continued research that was on the COVID virus itself, and we have that in a number of places. We have 5 faculty groups that have won rapid research awards to do urgent research on COVID, and we also have some human subjects research that we had to continue because involving drug trials that disrupting the treatment would be potentially dangerous to the subject. So those are the kinds of things that are ongoing. Then beginning May 20th, we'll begin to roll back in the rest of our research program, starting with those things that are lowest risk and highest time priority, and as quickly as we can get to full strength on research. But it will look different. I mean, each research lab has to submit a plan to our VPR explaining how they're going to comply with CDC and other guidelines, things like no more than 2 researchers on a lab bench, maximum number of researchers per 1,000 square feet of lab space, and so on, and protective equipment, those kinds of things. So, it'll look a little different, but with enough preparation, we should be able to get most of it up and running.
And then they were saying that graduate programs could possibly come next. That would be the next phase in shortly after research. This is, again, the Connecticut Reopen Committee. But the big question, of course, is those undergraduate programs where a lot of people, as we've been talking about, are in dorms. So how do you tackle that in the fall while still maintaining social distancing in those dorm rooms?
Yeah, as the report says, there are certain gating conditions that have to be met before we can open in the fall. And so those have a lot to do with the state of the disease at that time, as well as the tools we have to deal with the disease. And the tools include the ability to do rapid and broad testing, contact tracing, and isolating those who are sick. And so assuming that we can get all of those in place, then we will attempt to start up in full in the fall. There's going to be challenges in terms of residency in the dorms. A sign of hope is that we had 1,000 students in the dorms for 7 weeks, and we didn't have a single case in the store's dorms over that period. Those students were much more sparsely populated, and they were very serious about the public health procedures that they were asked to take. And so that kind of attention paid off and made a difference. We're going to need even more aggressive strategies. But some of the things we learned from that experience about, the way to modify the dining halls to make them food mostly grab and go, to avoid dining in large groups. The task force report that you referred to does suggest that we could treat suite mates, dormitory roommates, as kind of a family pod. And that's going to be a necessary approach. And then we have to do the rest of the public health behavior modification strategies to minimize the transmission there. We're also reconfiguring all of our facilities for instruction. So we're reconfiguring classrooms so that every student will be spaced out by at least 6 feet within the classroom. We're redesigning the ingress and egress so that it's one way, so that people don't clash in large groups. We're also looking at staggering schedules to prevent a big rush at all the same time. When classes get out and let in, all those kinds of things, plus a variety of technologies, infrared sensors to RFID cards and apps on phones. So it's a multi-pronged approach to keeping our students safe and bringing them back. We're also engaging our public health scholars. We have some of the leading researchers in the world in behavioral health, and they're very excited about applying their scholarship to this new domain of problem and doing it in collaboration with our students. So we're going to have some brainstorming sessions, some design exercises, and some charrettes over the summer where the students and the scholars and our staff think about redesigning the college experience to make it safe, while at the same time having the elements that students value, including social interaction.
It is a whole new world that we are living in. Well, please keep us updated on everything. It is an exciting challenge, obviously not one that you wanted to do, but it is here, it's before us, you all are tackling it. UConn President Thomas Katsouleas, we really appreciate your time calling in and joining us on The Real Story this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. Bye.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of The Real Story. If you want to watch any of these segments, you can go on fox61.com. We will have it for you there. Have a great morning, and we'll see you here again next week.